Claire, how are you? How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. Very good. Thank you.
So I have a word for you.
I'm
Are you
ready.
ready for the word? The word is transformation.
Right. Transformation. Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. When I think about, well, actually, there's this quote that always comes up around transformation that it was someone I met a few years ago. She was a coach, and she said, "Everyone wants transformation, but nobody wants to change." Hmm. So, what comes to mind just on the heels of that is something different about transformation. It feels more, to me, it's like a foundational thing. When I think about change, change feels almost more surface stuff. Like we can change some things to gain transformation, but really, transformation, how I see it, like it's like something fundamentally has changed, not just in I'm doing something different now. More, it's like, oh, I see something different, that it actually makes totally different sense. And this is what I just must do. Not even must do. This is just what I do now, because that's what makes sense. If I was going to look at it, the typical transformation that we talk about with the butterfly, it's like before it went into the cocoon, it was a worm and it crawled around. And when it comes out of the cocoon, it doesn't crawl around on the ground anymore, because there's been a fundamental change that has happened from a deeper place within, a seeing of something in a totally different way, that how it was before it can't even really be touched anymore, because it's just not how it is. So something new makes sense, and it just causes, it's like it's not a choice even, but it just causes things to be different things to be done, different words to be said, different things to be felt. I think about this transformation. It's like it's invisible. Like the butterfly, you can really see it. It's just like there was this whole thing that happened where it became, butterfly soup, and then it became this thing. But how I see a lot of transformation happens for me is it's like, oh, I don't even know what happened. I just know that I'm not responding in the same way to the same, um, uh, you know, things like I used to. So it's like, I don't even know what it is that caused it. Sometimes I'm aware, sometimes I will hear something. I had a very helpful conversation not too long ago, and I heard something new in that. And I expect that likely a different response is going to be coming out of me when I go to do that, what we were talking about. So sometimes I know what sparks the transformation, but often I don't know what I heard. I just know that, that it doesn't make sense anymore to even do that. And it's like, when did I stop doing that? That's what first comes up about transformation. How about you?
Yeah, I love everything. I love everything you've said around it not being about making those changes deliberately, but true transfer. Like, we can do all that forced willpower, grasping on to things and trying to force them to change kind of thing. Like, I did that for years and years, and it was not really very successful. Like you say, that's that change at the superficial level, whereas true transformation, well, first of all, it's like you said, it's just suddenly you notice, like I use the word bothered. I just noticed that doesn't bother me anymore. It's something that really used to seem like my sanity depended on it changing. Usually somebody's behavior, because for me, it's always somebody's behavior that's the problem. You know, that all these people that don't live life Clare's way, I find them tricky. But you know, I suddenly will just think, oh, that just doesn't bother me anymore. That used to seem like a real problem, and now it's just, yeah, whatever. Just don't really care about it like that. It doesn't seem like it needs to change for me to be okay. And I just seem to be okay despite it still being the way it was before. And I think as well, the other thing I notice about it is that it affects so many different things. Like, real transformation is, you'll often, like, people will come into a conversation like this to work with coaches like us, and they'll come in with one thing, you know, the thing that they want to be different. And quite often I find other things fall away first, because the thing is so hyper focused on that thing and changing that thing that almost they're holding it in place. So for me, I came into this conversation because I thought I procrastinated and I wasn't motivated enough. And there were lots of other things that fell away before I suddenly found that I was much more focused and could concentrate better, and that kind of lots of other things fell away before that thing seemed to just to be different. But it's so powerful to see that just by seeing your experience differently, which is what we help people to do in this kind of conversation, you can just see so many things change. There's not one aspect of, you know, since I came across this in early 2020, there's not one aspect of my life that hasn't been touched by it and changed, that hasn't transformed. Everything has changed. Every relationship, every circumstance. Obviously, they haven't really changed, but my relationship with them has changed, and how I feel about them has changed. And I've changed in how I am in the world a lot, an awful lot. What would you see as being the big kind of things that have just seemed to have just changed for you without anything really, without really needing to do anything? I think that's true transformation, isn't it? You haven't done anything, it suddenly changes.
Right. Yeah. It's hard to pinpoint, you know, one particular relationships for sure. And probably some relationships more than others. I love what you said about where you come in and you have, it's like this is what you want to change. And that there might be all of these other changes that are like almost like a fallout from your attention on trying to change this one thing. And that doesn't change as quickly because there's so much attention on it. So that was interesting to me, because it's like, oh, I could see some relationships that I have more vested interest in, you know, in affecting a transformation in. And they've probably taken longer to evolve. yet evolve they did, despite me wanting to. Oh, okay, that's really good, because what I see is that I've let go. I've let go a lot more. So my attention wasn't so much on this that I wanted to change. It's like, okay, well, there's how it was. And then all of a sudden change would happen. Okay, I just saw something new in that. It's like, it's not, I know that. I know that whatever you kind of just allow, yeah, you'd like something to be a little different. But if you keep putting your energy on what you want to be different, you're just holding it in place and actually making it bigger and maybe even more troublesome. And allowing, just putting it out there. Yeah, I'd like this to be different. And then sort of almost letting go, almost like turning your attention away from it. Transformation happens. Yeah. Interesting. I didn't see it in that, but I can totally see that that is mostly what happened in the relationships that I'm thinking about, how they've just become easier, just really so much easier and really honest, like really open and honest. Like, wow, this is how I read that. And on both sides. So interesting because because it was no longer, it's like no longer coming from a place of you did this. It's more like, okay, well, this is how I heard that. This is how, and knowing that, coming to a place of understanding that we're often not necessarily saying what we really mean, or we're not saying it in a way that, um, you know, what I see is before I was protecting. It was a lot about protection. And any stickiness that I have in my life in different areas, it's always around fear and protection. And when I'm in protective mode, I can't really say what's truly going on until I don't feel like I have to protect myself. When I feel like, that I can remember that we're all doing the best we can with what we're thinking in the moment. And it may be seem a little offside, like it's coming in hard, when I can understand that it's not, everyone is just doing the best they can, that I'm not being attacked. I don't have to protect myself. There's nothing to protect. I'm okay. I can show up in a more open and honest way, open-hearted, let's say, that in that way. I don't usually use those words, but it's kind of like that. And that has invited the other to respond, right? We're always putting out something that others are responding to. And depending on our level of consciousness or awareness of how the mind works, that can play into how easy the relationship can be, even when we're talking about what we might call hard things, even when we have big decisions to make or things that we need to talk about, that we need to find resolution on for one reason or another, even if it's just putting together a grocery list or something. I might have gone off on a track there, but what did you hear in that?
I think when I heard the word protection, I thought about separation, really. And I think that's one of the things that transforms, as transformed, I think we're both saying really around relationships, is that we're less. I think we have to be in a safe place of separation because there's a me and a you, and we're having a conversation, and then we can see each other, and but the more we see things like separate realities, we see that other people are doing the best they can, the calmer we are, that we're just less separate. I
Mhm.
often see that it's like we are one energy having 8 billion human experiences, and then we think, and that the thinking is like almost what separates us. That's what separates us. It's the thing we're all doing. That's what makes us all the same. But equally, it's the thing that separates us. And as our mind gets quieter, then we do reconnect to all of the humans in a different way. And I noticed that just being out and about and just seeing people and connecting to people and smiling at people, just random people, that's really transformed for me. I feel just a better connection to those people, whoever they are, really. See myself less as separate than I did before. I think that's been a massive change for me. But also at the beginning when you were speaking, that thing of almost like so there was a bizarre pause there, you may have noticed, and that's because somebody is I believe soaring something very loudly in the street. I was just saying to Michaela that there's only about 20 houses on my little cul-de-sac, and there is invariably somebody building something in this street. It's quite bizarre. The houses are all now mansions on here because they've got so many extensions. But I was just thinking about what you were saying about the when we look away from the problem, how it just I think that really it just sorts itself out, doesn't it? It kind of speaks to this self-righting system, don't pick the scab because it will heal on its own if you leave it alone. And that I often say that about my own transformation with this conversation was almost like I was looking to my left and looking at the problem that is Claire and all the things that are wrong with her and how she procrastinates too much and she isn't motivated and why isn't she smashing all the goals and doing a 12-week plan and God knows. It was all around productivity, my stuff. And when I came into this conversation, it felt like I just did like a 180-degree turn and just almost just turned my back on it for a while because, well, first of all, I was engaging in a really interesting conversation. I was listening to this understanding and I kind of had less time to think about Claire as a problem and what's wrong with Claire and da da da. And it was almost like, yeah, it was almost like it allowed my system to just get back into flow because I wasn't holding my problems in my hand and staring at them. It was just all beginning to flow again. Whereas I'd been looking at Claire's a procrastinator, Claire's not motivated enough. I'd been holding it really tight and looking at it and staring at it and had not left it alone, picked the scab. Whereas, yeah, when I started to, and it was just such a nice conversation, it's conversations like this one that our listeners are listening to that, no doubt you as well watched videos, listened to podcasts, audiobooks, etc. when we first came into this understanding, and I still do now. And it was just so nice. It was such a nice community. I met nice people like you. And so the focus just was off that. And I think that's so interesting because I think often when we think about transformation, we do think it's about the hard work and I've got to make it change. And actually, that's just not true. It's just not true. Stuff just does fall away when we leave it alone. I heard a lovely metaphor the other day and I can't remember which, but I think it was in the book Spiritual Constipation, which is just a great title for a book. I can't remember the name of the author, but he talked about that there's a river flowing, and if you imagine the river's got all sorts of bits in it. It's got some mouldy old leaves and a bit of a dead spider, and it's got bits of dog poo and God knows what in the river. There's all sorts of slimy bits and bits of old frog spawn and whatever, and the river's flowing past, and really that's our experience. It's just flowing all the time. It's not. There's no problems with it because there's always fresh water coming through and it's always flowing. But what we do is when we want to change, we scoop up a bucket of the rubbish and we stand and stare at it and try to pick out the bits of rubbish out the bucket, and we think the bucket is our experience. We go, oh my God, look at my dirty, horrible bucket full of horrible, dirty water. That's terrible. I'm terrible. Look at me. I'm awful. And in the meantime, it's flowing, and we've just taken a chunk of it, and then we're staring at it and prodding it and trying to sieve it and mess it about to try and make it clean. But new fresh water was already coming, new thought, new experience, you know, it was already moving. It's just we're holding it in place, really. We're not letting it flow. And I loved that metaphor. I thought it was just
Very good.
it was beautiful. It's really good.
Yeah.
And that's it. It's seeing that we're made to transform. We're made to change. We're always changing.
Yes.
And we can let that natural process just happen. We don't need to be forcing it to happen.
Yeah. It will naturally happen. The more we see. Noticing things, things will transform.
Definitely. Thank you.
You
that
as
was
well.
lovely.
Yeah, good one.
I'll see you next time.
You betcha. Take care.
You too.